Well, guys, welcome. I thought you did a great job yesterday. We got off on a good start. I think we're well on our way to volume reading. Wanted to do a study guide for week 2, and so here it is. I'll post it to Canvas in a few minutes. So this is Hebrews Study Guide 2, and what I want you to do is read through Full of Love's textbook. So in all of this, the study guide is a supplement or an explanation of sometimes a simpler explanation for what he does. He's going to give you the fuller version. I'm going to give you the cliff notes in these. So read through. In terms of the quiz, two major parts of the quiz will be vocabulary review. And so we're going to review the 25 words that we went over on Thursday. We're going to really get those down, and then we're going to look at 25 new words. So here they are, the review. It'll appear on the test just like this box, only the definitions will be blanked out. So we have that is and. Hey with the doubling dagesh is the word the, le, preposition to, be, preposition in, and who. Remember, who is he is she, me is who, and dog is fish. All right. Then we have et, and notice that appears almost 10,000 times. So definite direct object marker. Learn this well. Men, which can be a separate preposition, or sometimes it's slammed up against the word, and this noon would be assimilated with a doubling dagesh like the definite article. Both uses mean from. Ata is you, man. Haim is they, men, plural. Ani is I. YH, WH, the tetragrammaton, written in our translations, capital L-O-R-D, some do it Y-H-W-H. It means he was who he was, he will be who he will be, he is who he is. L is toward. Remember, our mnemonic device is El Al, the name of the Israeli airline. A share is the relative who or what. Amar is say. We meet that a lot in Genesis 1. In fact, 10 times it says, and God said. All is upon. We have the El Al. Kol, all. Lo, not. All these words are hugely used, so get these down. Ben is son. Ki is, the main use, learn it as because, at least in my interaction with the text, because or that, maybe secondarily. He is she. Who is he? He is she. Haya is the verb to be related to the tetragrammaton. Atem is you, men, plural. Yisrael. The ish who ra'az el, the man who sees God, or the man who wrestles with God, I think is the initialism that's given. Kat is like or as, who is like God. Mikael, and the idea is nobody's like God. And then Asa, he made, and that appears in Genesis 1 with God making. Bara is used 3 times, of heavens and the earth, of the great Tananim, and then of man. Asa is used of everything else in Genesis 1, so we want to jump on that word 2,000 times. So that's the vocabulary, and when you're studying this, make sure that you get these vocabulary words down. So the grammar in Hebrew isn't hard. If you get the vocabulary down, we're going to memorize the top 500 words this year. If you get that down, it's going to make volume reading so much easier. And since we're learning these words from the most frequent to the less frequent. The ones that occur early in the list are the ones you really need to jump on. And so make sure you get these down. Do the index cards, the ones you get right away, put in a shoebox of learned, work on the unlearned, and then every now and then just take them all back out, shuffle them up, maybe even get your wife to test you. You can test backwards by giving the definition and seeing if you can spell work both ways. Cross-training is going to help you. All right, so the second 25, so these are the new vocabulary for this week. Eretz is land or earth. The Yam Haaretz, people of the land. This is an important word, and it's used a lot. It's called a segelet. It has two segols in it. Get this word down. This word will be your friend. All right, bow is a verb, and notice that in the vocabulary list, they don't have any pointing with it. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but it is the way all the lexica do verbs. They just don't put the pointing in. That's one of the ways that you can tell a verb is being given to you, is they don't point it. Most people say this as bow, so I guess it would, if you wrote it, it would have a holum there, but it means to go in. So if you go in the land or something like that, and even at times this is a sexual word. The sons of God went into the daughters of men. This is the word that's used. So it's a frequent word, so memorize it well. Ish is the word man as opposed to woman. Isha is woman. Ish is man. Appears a lot in the text. Make sure you get it. Yom Echad, we already know from Genesis 1, day 1. Melech, another segelet. This is the word king. You probably know it from Melchizedek. My king is righteousness, or king of Salem, Melech, or Abimelech, my dad is the king. That's what that name would mean. But Malach is a verb, means to rule as king. Malkuth is kingdom. So this trilateral root is related to ruling as a king, and you can see this word appears lots of times, so make sure you get it down. Elohim is our friend, literally. It means gods. It's used 6,000 times of the one God of Israel, and so it can't mean gods in our translation because it uses singular verbs, but it is a plural word, and you can see the im on the end. It looks plural, and the words, if you have adjectives, a lot of times those adjectives will be in the plural, and even every now and then, even the verbs will be in the plural. In the statement Abraham makes that God sent him from his land, the verb there is plural, and so it is gods, but it has to refer to the one God, so it's this strange plural that is functioning as a virtual singular, but we need to memorize it. So Elohim here. Panah is face, and we've encountered this in the reading Al Pnei Hamayim, on the faces of the water. And so this is the root word. A lot of times it'll be in the plural. Al Pnei is plural, or in the dual, Pnaim, the dual face, but this is the root word. Natan is give, and you see it's unpointed, so it's a verb. We get Nathaniel, the gift of God, or Jonathan, Yahweh's gift. Nathan the prophet his name means he gives. So that's our word. And now we have a friend, by it. And I can tell you that nearly everyone who learns Hebrew, the mnemonic device for this word is, if you see a house, you buy it. So this is the word for house. Bait is what it looks like in the construct. And so make sure you get this word down. Now I'm just going to pause here and plug my computer in, and I'll be right back. All right, so here is and you can see that it's an ion, so it's really but we can't, Americans can't say that very well, so most people just say but it should be a little harder. And it's the people. You might remember this from Lo Ami, call her not my people, lo, not people, mine, lo Ami, not my people. Halak, this appears everywhere. It's the verb to go or walk, to walk in front of the Lord. It's what people do in the Garden of Eden. It's what Enoch does before God takes him. Yod, if you can remember, the Jewish Holocaust Museum is called Yad Vashem. A hand and a name is what that means literally. Maybe that will help you otherwise come up with a different mnemonic device, but it's a word that appears lots of places. And now we get this tricky little guy. Okay, so this is a preposition. It means with. And I know what you're saying. You're saying that looks exactly like the definite direct object marker. And if you say that, you would be exactly right. So we see here in Ha'adam, Yadad, Hava, Adam knew Eve. And so it wasn't any Eve. It was, the Eve he was married to, definite direct object. Knew Eve, his wife. Sorry about this. I don't know why it's... and she, Harad, she conceived, and she did. She produced a child named Cain. And see, all of these are the direct object marker. And she said, I have acquired. So that's how names work. Cain means something like gift. I have acquired an ish. So that's a man. But then it says, et Yahweh. So these two are the definite direct object markers, but this one is translated by everyone as with. And you can see they look exactly the same. So what do we do about that? Well, this is something that goes back even all the way to Aquila, who did a revision to the Septuagint, and he noticed that the word et can be with, and a lot of times Aquila will just put soon in Greek with what he knows is the direct object, because they look exactly the same. And in fact, some Jews even think that this should be translated, she said, I have gotten a man who is Yahweh. Jews will talk about that. I'm not as convinced that anybody really read it that way, but at least they entertained the idea that she might have thought that this was like Yahweh incarnate. But it's the word with. It looks exactly like the definite direct object marker, but it means with. And so when we're learning this word, you can see it does that thousands of times. So even though it's going to look exactly the same and even have the McCafe connecting, just know that sometimes it's a definite direct object marker and sometimes it's with, and you're going to have to try both cases. Davar is word or thing. Nachnu is we. There's another spelling of we, anachnu. I think a nachnu might be the fuller spelling, and this is kind of the abbreviated spelling, but this one is the one that appears more. So nachnu, we. Zeh is this. Ra'ah is see. So that's a tricky little word, not pointed, so it's a verb. Davar is speak. So davar with this in the list is the noun, and then unpointed in the list is speak. Of course, when it appears in the text, it's going to be pointed, but it'll be pointed as a verb. Hine is behold. Odd is as far as. If you've had Latin, ad means as far as, and so that may help you. Av, if you can remember Abba, or Abi, my father, or Abraham, great father. Absalom, father of peace. He was anything but a father of peace. The Messiah is called Aviad in Isaiah 9, the father of eternity. All related to this word. Shema, in Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, is here. Yatzah is to bring out or go out. Ir is town, and Lakak is take. So these are our 50 words. Work on them, studying them together with other people. Work on mnemonic devices, do the words, and then flip them over, do the definitions backward, forward. If you get these 50 words down, we're a tenth of our way for the whole year. And you can see all these words are still appearing like almost 1,000 times, so very important. You may want to take a break for a few minutes, just rest, and come back, and we'll talk about syllables. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for us. I'm going to try several different explanations. We're going to try lots. One will hit, I think. One will connect with you. So in English, and we're doing this right to left, left to right instead of right to left, every word in Hebrew has to start with a consonant. So you can't start a word with a vowel in Hebrew. You just can't do it. It has to start with a consonant. And you have two ways to break a word up into a syllable, either a consonant vowel, that's going to be an open syllable, or a consonant vowel consonant. And realize we're doing it in the English direction, so if you're thinking of this in Hebrew, you're going to have to flip it around the other way. So consonant vowel is called an open syllable, and these usually have long vowels in them. So if it's an open syllable, usually it's going to have a long vowel. That's going to be a rule, kind of a broad stroke rule that will help us. When you have a closed syllable, so a consonant vowel consonant, that's a closed syllable. It can be long or short. So it can have a long vowel or a short vowel. But, and here's the big but, if it's unaccented, then the closed syllable must be a short vowel. If you have a closed, unaccented syllable, it must be a short vowel. Now, for Hebrew, most words are going to accent the last syllable in the word. So if that last syllable is closed, it can be long or short. But if it's a closed syllable and the accent is somewhere else, that closed unaccented syllable has to have a short vowel. So different people call these vowels different things. We're going to look at lots of different charts. Cole Scherbach will talk about open vowels and closed vowels. I don't know how helpful that is, but that's his terminology. So these are open vowels. These are long vowels. So this is a long A. This is a long E. This is a long I. This is a long O. This is a long U. So in an open syllable, it can have these, and these are the long vowels. The closed vowels, the short versions, can be this, a pata, a segol is short, a hirik by itself without the yod can be short. This kametz hatuf, remember we talked about this is an O-class vowel. The reason you know it's an O-class vowel is when it appears in a closed syllable that's unaccented, because the long kametz is a long A. And so if you're in a closed unaccented syllable, you can't have a long vowel in a closed unaccented syllable, so it can't be the A. It has to be the O. We'll see enough of them, it'll become clear. And the kibbutz is, if this is the long version of the U, this is the short version of the U. Okay, so that's one attempt. Cole Scherbach, that's his chart. Let's do somebody else's chart. So Furtado, he's an RTS Hebrew scholar. I think he's in Orlando. He's going to do it this way. So he's going to say they're open syllables and they're closed syllables. So if this is our word, that's how it's going to appear in the text, then this would be an open syllable because it starts with a consonant and a vowel, and then this would be the closed syllable, shalach. And this is how it be written. All right. This would be an open syllable, achoth, achoth. And then kaved, kaved. So these are all open syllables, and these are all closed syllables. So again, this is just continuing Furtado's explanation. The last syllable is usually the accented syllable. So here we have the long E. The last syllable is accented, so you can have a long in a close, so that's kosher. This is a long O. It's accented on the last syllable. That's kosher. This is a short A. I don't know, maybe this word is accented here, but this is kosher. So Furtado gives the rules, and he gives this one basic rule. Short vowels are usually followed by a silent shavah. So if you're inside a word, and you come to a shavah and you're trying to determine, is it short or is it vocal, is it not? If the short vowel comes before the consonant that has a shavah, then it means it's a closed syllable. So the Shavah is silent. We'll look at enough of these. Don't worry if you get all these rules. Imitation's the sincerest form of flattery. We're going to copy some people who speak well, but these are some of the rules, and Futado's good. This is the rule that he gives. Okay, so picking up from last week, Dagesh Forte doubles the letter. Gutturals can't take a Dagesh Forte, and Resh is included in this list. So these are gutturals and Resh. You can't double these letters. So they're never going to take a Dagesh Forte. Begad Kafats can take a Dagesh Line. These are the Begad Kafats. Think of the Dagesh Line as taking an H sound out of the letter. That's how they functioned originally. In Sephardic pronunciation, the distinction isn't made with a Tav anymore, with a Dagesh, or with the Gimel. It is made with the Beit, the Kaf, and the Pei. So if it doesn't have the Dagesh, Beit, Kaf, Pei, pronounce an H with it. The others don't pronounce with an H. That's the way they do it in Israel. We're trying to learn their language, so we're copying what they do. Last week we talked about an assimilated noon that sometimes it'll be absorbed in the next letter and replaced with a double Dagesh. They're vocal and silent Shavahs. Remember Futado's rule, short vowel, silent Shavah. Otherwise, it's a slight E sound. If you have a vocal Shavah, so this is the slight E sound, and you put it under these letters, they have to be compound. They can't be simple Shavah. The comments and the comments hatuf, it can be an A class or an O class. In a closed, unaccented syllable, it must be the O class vowel. So if you have a closed syllable and it doesn't have the accent, then it has to be the O class, not the A class. We talked a little last week, good discussion in full love, about the matra lectionis, the mothers of reading. In the pre-Tiberian pointing system, they began to use certain letters as quasi-vowels, and you'll see copyists are using that system. And so in the Dead Sea Scrolls, you'll get words that sometimes have the mothers of reading, and sometimes they don't. And both those spellings are accurate. It's just a system that they began to use to help us read. When we get to our pointed text, B19a by 1008 AD, you're going to get words that are spelled both ways, with the matres lectionis and without them. And all it is, they're trying to faithfully represent what was passed down to them. And so we have to be aware of that. Adjectives must agree with the words they modify in gender, number, and case. So if you're talking about the living God and you're talking about the one God of Israel, it's Elohim, and it's usually Chaim, living God. So living has to be plural too. Sometimes they break that rule, and so you'll have Elohim Chai, living God, but people that aren't knowing what to do with that quasi singular. But most of the time, adjectives are going to have to agree with the words they modify in gender, number, and case. A predicate nominative, that is, if you have a verbless sentence, or if you have an is there, that's not going to have the definite article. So if you say Mr. Smith is president, in Hebrew, president isn't going to have the word the with it. And the same is true in Hebrew. You won't write the word is, and you'll just put Mr. President, Mr. Smith, and you won't say the president, you'll just say president. Now, another thing here, Futato has this nice chart of singular and plural. We already talked about this a little last week. This is the word horse, masculine horse, male horse, plural male horses, so that aim. And then if you're talking about a female horse, you put "ah" on the end. And if it's a bunch of female horses, you put "oath" on the end. So that's what we have for this week. I encourage you to study this over several days. Don't try to cram it all in one day. We're going to get to the place where volume read. This is what we have for this week. Can't wait to see you on Thursday. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you then.